MJ Scale Modeling here. It's been a long time since I posted anything, but I'm back now. Just because I haven't been posting doesn't mean I haven't been building. I've built a lot of models in the last year. I've just been a little bit too busy to focus on YouTube right now. I've been remodeling the house and helping my wife get her home daycare up and running. So in the upcoming videos, I may actually do a couple videos showing some of the stuff that I've built and some of the stuff that's actually still on my desk. So look forward to seeing those. There's some pretty cool stuff that I think I'm working on right now. I have a bunch of cool ideas in the works. But as you can see right now, I'm actually spending the month of June camping with my wife and kids in our camper. So I figured for my return to YouTube, might as well go ahead and build a model while camping. So we picked our model for the camping trip, and it's going to be the Panzerspavagen AB43 203 Italian by Italy. Now, this is a pretty unique vehicle. When I first got this for my birthday from my wife, I was like, that's a pretty cool vehicle, I guess, whatever, neat. After researching this a little bit, the rabbit hole on this vehicle goes so deep, and we're actually going to discuss that in the upcoming video here. So a lot of the video I've been recording, working on this thing, has been outside, it's been in the camper, so it's a lot different setup than I normally have back at my desk. Bear with me, it's actually a lot of fun. It's a little bit more of a challenge to build it while I'm out here. So let's go ahead and let's get into building this model and have some fun. Okay, let's do it.
During the Second World War, the Italian military wanted an armored car of modern design. The companies Fiat and Ansaldo worked together to come up with the great-grandfather of the AB43, the AB40. The AB40 weighed 6.8 metric tons, or 14,991 pounds. The AB40 featured a double steering system and a Model 1940 turret with twin 8mm machine guns with a third machine gun in the hull. The armor was 9mm thick on the sides and on the turret, and was powered by a Fiat SPA ABM1 6-cylinder engine. It was able to achieve a top speed of 78 km per hour, or roughly 48.5 miles per hour, with a range of 40 kilometers, or roughly 248.5 miles. The AB40 was soon replaced by the AB41 due to its light armament and underpowered engine. It featured the Model 1941 turret, which was armed with one Beretta 20mm cannon and one 8mm machine gun as a coax. Strangely though, 431 AB41s were built with the underpowered ABM1 engine, while 232 AB41s were built with the new 88 horsepower Fiat SPA ABM2 engine, which increased the speed to 80 kilometers an hour, or roughly 49.7 miles per hour. The High Command of the Royal Italian Army requested Fiat and Ansaldo to adapt the AB41 for use in the North African campaign. The superstructure of the AB42 was completely redesigned, with a more inclined 8.5mm armor. The dual steering system was removed, reducing the crew to 3 and reducing the weight of the vehicle to 6 metric tons, or roughly 13,227 pounds. It also featured a new engine, the Fiat SPA ABM3 6-cylinder engine, and the new Model 1942 turret. The Model 1942 turret was lower and created less of a silhouette, and wider to better accommodate the Beretta 20mm cannon. With the new engine, speed was increased to 90 kilometers an hour, or roughly 56 miles per hour. After the defeat in El Alamein on November 11, 1942, the AB42 project was deemed unnecessary, since it was designed exclusively for the North African campaign, so it was shelved. To save money on designing and producing new prototypes, Fiat and Ansaldo took the engine and the turret from the AB42 and mounted them on the chassis of one of the last series AB41 hulls produced. The resulting vehicle was the Autoblinda Model 1943, or AB43 for short. There was another variant of the AB43 that was designed featuring a 2-seater turret with a 47mm anti-tank gun. It was named the AB43 Canon. However, the Casabiel Armistice of September 8, 1943 did not allow a single AB43 to be delivered to the Italian Armed Forces for combat service. On November 13, 1943, the Germans resumed production under the control of Generalinspektor der Panzertruppen, or General Inspector of the Armed Forces. The Germans ordered 100 AB43s and cancelled all orders for the AB43 Canon. Due to Allied bombings, lack of raw materials, delays in delivery of engines and other parts, and strikes by workers of the Ansaldo factory in Genoa, production was slow-moving. Production was about 6 AB43s a month, with a total production of 60 AB43s in 1944 and 42 by March 1945. The AB43's armor was designed to protect the now 4-man crew from infantry small arms fire. The armored plates were bolted on, making them not as strong as welded armor plates. However, bolted plates could be easily replaced if they sustained combat damage. The AB43's hull was 9mm thick on the front, sides, and back, The armor on the model 1942 turret that was on the AB43 was 22 millimeters thick on the front and was 8.5 millimeters thick on the sides and back. The wheel fenders were also armored to protect the tires from being punctured. Each side of the AB43 had a two-piece armored door. To open the door, you had to open the top half first and then the bottom half. The upper door had slits for the crew to engage infantry with hand weapons. The vehicle was also equipped with two horns and two spare tires mounted on each side of the hull. Since the AB43's turret was the model 1942 originally from the AB42, as said before, it was lower and wider than the turret of the AB41 and the AB40. The one-man turret had two hatches, one on the top for the commander who was also the gunner, and the other hatch was on the back of the turret to provide access to the 20mm Beretta for dismantling for routine maintenance or repairs. There was an anti-aircraft machine gun mount on the top of the turret as well as a periscope which allowed the commander a 360-degree view while engaged in combat operations. The AB43 had a powerful Fiat SPA ABM3 6-cylinder water-cooled inline gasoline engine, producing 108 horsepower. The engine was carbureted with a Zenith Type 42 TTVP carburetor. Since the hull of the AB43 was an AB41 hull, the dual steering system was still in place, adding a fourth crewman. With all this added to the vehicle, it brought the weight up to 7.6 metric tons, or 16,755 pounds. One issue that plagued the crews of the AB43 was that there was no armored wall separating the crew compartment from the engine compartment, which was a huge oversight by Fiat and Ansaldo. A 20-liter fuel tank was mounted in front of the engine, and in the event of an engine fire, the fire would quickly spread to the crew compartment. Many crews began not filling this fuel tank and began storing fuel externally in jerry cans on the outer hull. The main gun on the AB43 was the Canon da 20/65 Beretta model 1935, which was originally developed as an anti-aircraft gun. The 20mm Beretta was reported to have a rate of fire of 500 rounds per minute, but due to the cramped structure of the AB43's turret, they were lucky to achieve 200 rounds per minute. The 20mm Beretta was able to fire a bunch of different types of shells, from anti-aircraft to armor-piercing. With a few modifications, it was even able to take shells from the powerful German Flak 38, which made it a more efficient tank killer. The Beretta cannon was able to achieve an elevation of plus 18 degrees and a depression of negative 9 degrees. The AB43 was also equipped with two Beretta Model 38 8mm machine guns. One is a coax next to the cannon and one on a ball mount facing the rear of the vehicle. The Beretta Model 38 machine gun was the vehicle version of the Beretta Model 37 machine gun, which was a ground weapon for Italian infantry. The cannon and coax machine gun were both equipped with an X1 sight produced by the San Giorgio Optics factory in Genoa. After the Wehrmacht began production in November 1943, the Germans renamed the AB43 the Beute Panzerschwagen AB43 203I, which in English roughly translates to Captured Armored Reconnaissance Car AB43 203 Italian. The Wehrmacht used the AB43 in Italy and the Balkans, mainly for use in anti-partisan operations. Sadly, the AB43 was used in several wartime atrocities. Three of the well-known recorded incidents where the AB43 was confirmed to have been present were in Italy, and were massacres against Italian civilians. The German 362nd Infantry Division massacred Italian civilians in Piedmont in April 1944, with at least one AB43 participating in the slaughter. The Ronchendoso Massacre was another wartime atrocity where the AB43 was confirmed to have participated. The 4th Fallschirmjäger Division massacred Italian civilians in July 1944, with at least 3 AB43s participating in the slaughter. After the war, many AB43s were put into service with Italian law enforcement agencies, the main one being the Italian State Police. 8 AB43s were actually constructed post-war by the Fiat factory and were used in railway engineering units. Sadly, there are only 6 remaining AB43s left in the entire world, with only one in running condition. Some of the remaining 5 are severely damaged. The AB43 was a complicated vehicle. I had no idea the rabbit hole would go so deep when I started researching this vehicle. With its conception stemming from World War I to its retirement in the 1950s, the Auto Belinda went through many changes to eventually land at the AB43 design. It was a vehicle that was well liked by its crews, and there was a need for it in the Axis war machine. However, relentless bombing campaigns and an always advancing Allied force prevented the AB43 from being manufactured at numbers needed to meet the demand of the German army. Without the numbers of needed AB43s, older AB41s and Linz armored cars had to pick up the slack, and they just weren't up to the task. I hope you all found this interesting and that you learned a little something about a not well-known, underrated workhorse of the Axis powers, the AB43. Now let's build this model.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for this model building session. So if you liked what you saw, I know I haven't really given you guys a lot of confidence in my posting abilities. Go ahead and like and subscribe. But you know what? I had a blast building this model here camping, so I enjoyed it so much that I'm going to build another one. And I have the M8 Greyhound Vitality light armored car. So stay tuned for that one, and keep building models, everyone, and we'll see you in the next one. See you later.